It's time to put into spotlight the newest member of the San Antonio Spurs, Isaiah Roby.
You are Locked On Spurs, your daily San Antonio Spurs podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome back to Locked On Spurs right here on the Locked On NBA Network. I'm your host, Jeff Garcia, Spurs writer for Kens 5 San Antonio. Glad to have you back. Hey, it's this is the offseason, everybody. It's going. It's still got a few more weeks before things start ramping up with training camp and maybe some more movements as training camp comes in. But what are we talking about today? We're going to be putting into spotlight the newest member of the Spurs, Isaiah Roby. Haven't had a chance to really dive into the signing. What do we think about the overall signing? What are some specific numbers that we like, don't like? What areas does he need to improve as he is set to start his time in San Antonio? Then we get to the Spurs news and notes, including Joe Wieskamp and much, much more. I am joined by my colleague over at Kens 5 San Antonio. He is Tom Petrini. Tom, how is the offseason treating you?
What do, baby?
I know.
I'm better when ball's going in hoop, but it's been an active off season at the very least. And hey, we got some big news today that affects the Spurs. Kevin Durant staying in Brooklyn, so no Durant trade. I know everybody was hoping for that, but
yep.
Seems like that one.
Yeah,
seems like that's not happening.
I always felt that was a pipe dream. I always felt that was just a pipe dream for silver and black fans.
I'm kidding a little bit, but. Yeah, no, it's definitely dog days of summer here, but still a lot of there's going to be Spurs basketball next year, and there's a lot to talk about. And I'm actually quite excited to talk about Roby because interesting pickup.
Yeah, we haven't had a chance to put him in the spotlight right here on Locked On Spurs. With the schedule coming out, fans wanting to chime in on it, et cetera, et cetera. So finally, we got a chance to dive into the signing of Roby. Now, the Spurs picked him up off waivers from the Thunder this offseason. A lot of positive reaction from the fan base, a lot of positive reaction just from media in general that cover the NBA. Your thoughts on the signing, and we'll get into the numbers in a while, but what did you think about the Spurs picking him up?
Well, I think he's coming from an OKC team that is has every draft pick ever moving forward. So second rounder, and they definitely have some guys that they're going to be prioritizing over him at that position. So it's not like they let him go because he's a bad player or he wasn't improving. Right. He was, and he's decent. He's got some good NBA skills. This is a guy 6'8", 7'3" wingspan. Came out of college with the potential multi-positional defender, and he's shown that at the NBA level. I think with what this young Spurs team looking to get better at defense, I think he's a really solid pickup, and not yet 25.
That's right. He's still 24 years old. He got his whole NBA career ahead of him. I highlighted a little while ago, Tom, but it seems like this is kind of one of the more under the radar, a very Spursy pick in the offseason. I think he's going to fit right into the Spurs and their rebuild plans if he sticks around. Who knows? They may be using to flip him at the rate this team is going. But as of right now, I like the pickup. He addresses a need. He's going to shore up the bench this upcoming season. All in all, though, I like this pickup, but I think he's going to come off the bench. Can you see him maybe challenging for a starting spot, or you think he's just kind of relegated to the second unit?
I think that the Spurs, we kind of have to throw the book out for this season as far as, the young guys all go to Austin and stay there forever. And, we could see Sohan making a push for that starting power forward spot. It's going to be really interesting to see, how much they lean on the teenagers and stuff. And Roby, he's going to be old enough to rent a car soon, so I don't know how long he is for the Spurs. I'm kind of kidding, but
well, he's an old guy on the roster. He's 24 years old. Watch out now.
Yeah, Spurs veteran. it's all relative, and relatively speaking, Roby has more NBA experience than a lot of these guys are going to have. And, you know, coming from the Thunder, it's not like he's going to be like, oh man, I used to be on a great winning team and now I'm here, you know, so it's not going to be too much of an adjustment to the rebuilding side of things. So he might have some valuable insight for these young guys who are coming into a situation where the expectation obviously is not going to be, you know, immediate playoffs or title contention or anything. It's the slow grind. It's the, you know, how do you stay grounded? How do you, you know, stay positive and motivated when you're losing a bunch of games? And I think that he might bring some intangibles in that regard. But also, I mean, he's a solid player. And, you know, you said we're going to get into the numbers in a bit, but the improvement that he's shown with his time in Oklahoma City, getting more efficient and getting, you know, building up the skills that we didn't really see too much of at the college level. He went to Nebraska, I think, Nebraska Lincoln. And, you know, he's a guy who can fit in a bunch of different lineups. You know, doesn't need to have the ball in his hands. The Spurs have a bunch of guys who they're going to be trying to bring along as primary, secondary ball handlers. That's not going to be him, but he can complement those guys on both ends of the floor.
Interesting enough, though, Tom, he's been on record to say that he actually thought he was going to be picked by the Spurs in his draft class, that he was already bracing to be a San Antonio Spur. That didn't happen. So he's, you know, definitely loving his new landing spot. He loves the Spurs. You know, he's saying all the right things. Welcome to San Antonio, Isaiah Roby. But we're not done talking about Roby. When we get back, we're going to be looking at some numbers. What are the strengths for Roby on the court? You know, what about his defense? What about his rebounding, his shooting? You know, there's some areas that Tom thinks that this guy needs to show out on. Head into the new season, we're going to be discussing that and a lot more. And we thank you for making Locked On Spurs your first listen each and every day. We are free and available wherever you get podcasts. And I want to bring to your attention some very important news from the NHTSA. Drive sober or get pulled over. Look, you're hanging out with some friends, putting back a few drinks. You becomes a few too many. As the evening comes to an end, people start to head out. You think of calling a ride. Nah, you live nearby. You can make it home. It's okay. It's no big deal. Yeah. You're also probably thinking, what are the odds you're going to get pulled over anyway? What's the worst that can happen? Well, here's what can happen. Your insurance goes up. You lose your license. You lose your job. You total your car. You kill someone or you hurt yourself. Yeah. The NHTSA wants you to, wants to remind you that to drive sober or get pulled over. It's a very serious situation that the NHTSA wants to bring to your attention. So if you're out with your friends and you have a few drinks, become a few too many, and you decide to drive away, think again. Drive sober or get pulled over. We're back with Tom Petrini. He is with Kens5.com, where we're putting to spotlight the newest member of the Spurs, Isaiah Roby. Now, Tom, let's go and look at some numbers now. You're the guest, so you get the first crack at this. What do the numbers show you? What do you like from Roby? What don't you like, and what do you want to see from him heading into the new season?
Well, I think the thing that jumps out when you look at his year-to-year progression, you know, he actually played less minutes for the Thunder last season than he did the season before, but he used them more efficiently. He stepped up his three-point percentage on basically the same volume, you know, shooting over one attempt per game from deep, went from 29% his sophomore season to 44%. You know, certainly not the highest volume, but the accuracy improvement is really encouraging there. And, you know, this is a guy who I think he shot 33% from the college three-point line, you know, which was enough to make the defenders respect him a little bit, but something you would want to see get up. And for a guy with arms that long,
Mhm.
that's pretty impressive. So I'm excited to see what he can do if he can continue that trajectory. Really, like 44% is probably going to be an outlier, but if he can get those attempts up and continue to be a pretty accurate shooter at that wing position, where really his main assets on the court are his ability to defend multiple positions, his
Right.
rebounding. Um, he's not going to be looked at as like a go-to offensive player, but if he can space the floor really effectively, man, that makes him a lot more playable. And
Absolutely.
I think that watching the development there is going to be key for him as far as how he sticks in the NBA moving forward. Um, but yeah, that is, I think, one of the more interesting statistical notes for him is that you know, I mean, his rookie season he wasn't shooting threes at all, and now he's coming in and hitting a really impressive clip. Um, and if he's able to keep those mechanics down and continue to refine it and continue to really just build up the consistency. I mean,
Mhm.
we've talked to a lot of these young guys coming in, Sohan and Blake Wesley particular, who didn't shoot great from deep uh, in their college careers, and they're talking about all the right things, which is it's just about getting consistent with it
Right.
and putting in the work. And clearly, Roby has put a lot of work into becoming
Mhm.
not just a reliable 3-point threat, but a
Right.
pretty dangerous one. And it's something that I don't think a lot of people expected out of him when he came out of college.
I'm glad you brought up the shooting because if we look at some of the numbers from B-Ball Index at his position, it's just incredible. His overall 3-point percentage, B-Ball Index grades him an A plus, the 95th percentile. Pull up 3-point shooting, A plus again, 96th percentile. Catch and shoot 3-point percentage, B plus, 74th percentile. And corner 3-point shooting, A minus, 85th percentile. And that's just his 3-point shot. He can get
So that's
open. Yeah,
that's interesting. I didn't realize he was that good off the bounce. That's
yeah,
kind of
he is.
crazy.
Yeah, yeah. His weakest quote unquote is just the fact he doesn't take too many. His 3-point attempt
Right.
rate is C minus. They give B-ball index gives him that in the 42nd percentile. Um, Now, if is there an area that he needs to work on the perimeter? Yeah, he doesn't really create his own 3-point shot, so he definitely feeds off, being, open, catch, shoot, ball, hit it. C in the 51st percentile at his position. Again, we're just talking about his 3-point shooting, and from beyond the arc. Uh, are there areas for improvement? Of course. Not a really good finisher. They give him a just rim shot creation according to B-ball index, a D plus in the 40th percentile of his position. So yeah, there are some issues for that he needs to work on. Again, that could just simply be he maybe didn't get as many minutes in the OKC, but nevertheless, yeah. But overall, you look at what he brings. He's really good at contesting shots at the rim. He's really
Mhm.
good at rebounding, especially in the offensive end. I'm anticipating and I'm looking forward to seeing him and Jakob together crashing the offensive board because according to B-Ball Index, that's his third best quality as him as a player. It's just the offensive rebounding. But
With the finishing, you'd like to see a
yeah,
guy with that sort of length, like we said, 7'3" wingspan. You'd like
yeah.
to see him finish a little better inside.
Hmm.
Um, and it's definitely a balancing act, right, with 3-point percentage and 3-point attempts, right? And maybe his percentage and the low amount of attempts kind of speaks to him picking his spots well. you know, only taking the shots that are, pretty open and, really like understanding the flow of the offense and his own strengths. Um, and he's been described as kind of like a glue guy offensively.
Right.
Just does like some of the little things that connect the other players and open things up for them. But yeah, I think that for a guy with his size, the shooting potential is certainly there.
Yeah, it is definitely there. And digging into some more numbers, courtesy of B-Ball Index, you pick an area, and you're going to get something positive out of them. So the top talent areas for Roby are interior defense, offensive rebounding, playmaking, which threw me off a little bit, and roll gravity. So people are thinking, okay, what is
Mhm.
roll gravity? That's basically just the ability to bend the defensive through scoring and screening, high ball screen situations. So he can definitely impact on the defensive end in that aspect. I like those. Those are his top four areas for him, and he's a Spur now. I'll take it anytime, Tom.
Right, and a guy his size, his position, you're not necessarily expecting him to be a premier playmaker. You're not expecting him to play with the ball in his hands a lot.
Mhm.
Because that's not really his job.
Mhm.
And like you said, roll gravity, it's an important thing. Not just setting screens, but then getting to dangerous areas on the floor, and like you
Right.
said, bending the defense.
Yeah.
And I mean, he was a second round pick a couple of years ago. It's not like you know not like people are going to be on the scouting report like, oh, we got to watch out for this guy, but I think he's going to be able to hurt teams that overlook him,
Mhm.
um because he's got a variety of skills at that size that can be really effective at the highest level. So um yeah, I think that the shooting remains the most intriguing thing for me, but if he can continue to do those
Mhm.
two-way wing things at a high level, he's going to be a contributor on this team. And it's not like he was playing garbage time for OKC. He averaged, I think, 27 minutes a game or close to it his sophomore season, down to 21 last year. But so he's used to playing pretty significant minutes,
Right.
and guarding a whole bunch of different guys. So he's going to have some valuable experience. And again, everything's relative when it comes to the Spurs team right now. Um,
Absolutely.
but yeah, and I'm sure in practice it's going to be a lot of you know him and Sohan going at it. Like
Can't
I'm
wait to see
interested
that.
to see
Yeah.
those two guys. How they get on and how they improve each other's game.
Mhm.
Um, but yeah, I think that when you're looking at a player like Roby, you want to see big improvement in certain areas, like where's he making the jump, you know?
Right.
And last season, the accuracy with the 3-point shot really was a significant jump for him,
Mhm.
in a way that like probably should have raised some more eyebrows, like again, I know it's not the biggest sample size, but he had over 100 3-point attempts last year. It's not like, oh, he tried 9 and he hit 4, like he was getting reps up. And
Mhm.
and again, like I said, he was in an OKC system that was prioritizing development and young guys, and we've seen the results of the work that he's put in to improve not just in that area but in other areas of his game. So
Yeah.
um yeah, a low-key signing one that, like, I don't think many people are paying attention outside of San Antonio to the little roster moves that the Spurs are doing right now. But yeah, I think that he's going to surprise a lot of people next year.
I'm with you. One final quick stat about Roby. The ball index has his playmaking talent that just accumulates all the data from the screen rolls and the passing from the post and perimeter, blah blah blah. B at his position in the 70th percentile. So definitely can cause and create more opportunities for his teammates. Overall, Tom, your thoughts on the signing? What grade would you give it?
I mean, for where the Spurs are and for where he is, it's an A. I mean, like, he's a fit. Like you said, he thought he was coming here. He wants to be here. Um, and he does things that this Spurs team in particular, when you're prioritizing the development of guys like Josh Primo, Malachi Branham, Blake Wesley, um, you know, you want those guys to have strong wing defenders around them, guys who can space the floor, and guys who can, set good screens, roll well, and Roby does all that. And
Absolutely.
yeah, if he can, even if he can shoot the three at a higher volume at, say, 38%, somewhere around there, which I think is a reasonable target for him, getting, close to that 40% mark. You know, he's going to be a huge asset to all of those guys who, you know, are going to need solid shooters in the corner. And, it's I'm interested to see, because this is a guy who, he can space to the corner and to other parts of the 3-point arc, but that zone on the baseline, going
Mhm.
corner to dunker spot, he's somebody who can be effective in both of those areas and sort of roving over there on the offensive
Absolutely.
end. So yeah, I think it's
As well.
I'm excited.
Yeah, I'm excited. Yeah, I'm giving it an A as well. I'm agreeing with you. Solid signing, good pickup. If he sticks with the Spurs the full season or he gets flipped, either way, he'll serve a purpose for the Spurs in this rebuild. We are talking with Tom Petrini. Follow him on Twitter at Real Tom Petrini. And we're not done talking. We're going to be discussing some Spurs news and notes, a lot of Joe Wieskamp, and those games in Austin. What does Tom think about that? But before we do that, I want to talk to you about BetOnline. BetOnline.net is the fastest and easiest way to check in on all your betting needs. Find your favorite sports and events at the #1 online source for odds, lines, and games. Find reviews, news of every league, including MLB, NFL, NBA, NHL, combat sports, esports, even golf. BetOnline continues to be the top online resource for all your sports wagering information, from live in-game betting, scores, and podcasts. They got you covered. And if you dare, go right now, betonline.net, see what Vegas has as far as the Spurs winning the title. You got to brace yourself. Head today, BetOnline, or use your mobile device to learn more about the action happening today. BetOnline, where the game starts. We're back with Tom Petrini right here on Locked On Spurs. He's with Kings 5. And yeah, we're talking about your favorite subject right here on Locked On Spurs, the silver and black. Tom, I know you're going to shell out some money for Joe Wieskamp because he is selling a lot of his game-worn Iowa basketball gear. Did you see that on Kens5.com/Spurs?
Go Hawkeyes. Yeah, no, I did see that. I'm interested to check out what he's got for sale.
He has autographed KDs that he wore at Iowa. Yeah.
What size is he? I feel like he's one of those NBA guys who I might actually fit into his shoes. I have a couple pairs of shoes that Terry Rozier used to knock around in.
Well, and he not only does he have the KDs up, he has some PG-13s, some Nike PG-13s, and he autographed. So even if they don't fit you, just to have a collectible in your collection, maybe you could flip that, sell on eBay. There's got to be a hungry Iowa basketball Hawkeye fan that's willing to shell out some bucks. But really cheap too. I was surprised. I was expecting to see the KDs go for like 800 or more. Now he's selling for 250. So
Yeah,
yeah,
it's been a while since I got me a good pair of shoes, inflation and
yeah.
all. But
Well, speaking of Wieskamp, you had some news on KensFi.com/Spurs about him and his future in San Antonio. He's staying, huh?
yeah, it surprised some people, but I mean, they're gonna have to make some moves. Before the regular season starts, there's going to be a little bit of competition for that last roster spot. But yeah, Joe Wieskamp, according to ESPN's Adrian Wojnarowski, will be back on a 2-year deal worth about $4.4 million. Definitely another value signing for the Spurs here. But yeah, this is a guy who spent most of his rookie season last year in the G League, 17 points per game, shooting right around 50% from three, 37 or 50% from the floor, 38% from three. Didn't get too much burn at the NBA level, but again, this is a new phase for what the Spurs are doing. And if ever there was a year to give your sophomore second round sniper some burn at the NBA level, it's right now. He can play the 2, he can play the 3. Today, August 23rd, I don't know when this one's going out, but August 23rd is his birthday. And yeah, $4.4 million contract, probably the best birthday present he may get. So kudos to him. He's definitely gotten to this point through a lot of hard work, really, really refining his craft. And, I think that certainly a player of his position, with his skills, with his style, learning from Doug McDermott past year has probably been really, really good for him. Because if you think about what his ceiling is in the NBA, being a player like McDermott is probably what his ideal role is. So definitely excited to see him back and see what he can do on this team, where he's probably going to have a good bit of opportunity here.
Yeah. I expect him to at least challenge for some San Antonio minutes as opposed to Austin minutes. Wouldn't be surprised if he does get to Austin a couple times this upcoming season. Really hard to gauge him because we don't have a full big sample size of him on the NBA stage. But the little bit that we have, Tom, according to B-Ball Index, the top talent areas for Wieskamp are finishing, perimeter shooting, obviously, one-on-one, and playmaking. So hopefully he can build on that next season. And you're talking about a payday on his birthday, and he recently got married. So things are going well for him on and off the court.
Yeah,
so congratulations
good for that
to
kid. And
Joe.
you mentioned the playmaking, and
Mhm.
I think it is important to note that he's not just 3-point shooter. He's probably not going to be running a lot of pick and rolls, a lot of ISOs, but attacking off the catch, he's got a little bounce. He's good using his 2 steps. He's unselfish. Um, he defensively, like last year in Austin, he averaged like 1.5 steals a game. Found his teammates pretty well. Already developed pretty good chemistry with Primo. Played a lot with him.
Yep.
So yeah, definitely not a one-dimensional player.
No.
And yeah, I'm interested. I'm excited to see what he can do with more opportunity.
In other Spurs news, this has been kind of on the lips of some Spurs fans. The schedule's out. Yeah, everybody knew that Austin, Texas, was going to get a pair of Spurs "quote unquote" home games as part of their reach to expand their market base. So Spurs fans were mumbling and grumbling about that. They got over it. Schedule comes out. Okay, they're playing the Blazers and the Minnesota Timberwolves out in Austin. Okay, not total big games, but okay, it is what it is. But some Spurs fans are a little grumbly right now of where those games were slated. Those are the official last 2 quote home games for the Spurs. a lot of Spurs fans felt that the last home game should have been at the AT&T rather than the Moody Center. Yeah, Spurs fans just nitpicking at this point. Nothing big deal, no big deal. So what? Austin gets the last 2 home games for the season.
Yeah, I mean, spoiler alert here, and this may be an unpopular opinion, but
Here we go.
I don't think that those games are going to have huge playoff implications for the Spurs.
That's right.
Um,
I think this is more territorialism right now from Spurs fans. They're like, "This is ours. We keep it."
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And I've there's certainly been a lot of that with the Austin stuff. For since the Spurs announced the games in Austin, it's been it's been not just Spurs fans being territorial about it. It's been lawmakers in San Antonio and Bexar County, like, hey, you guys aren't leaving us, right? And some of the reporting around the scheduling of those last 2 games is that initially the Spurs wanted to sort of break up the rodeo road trip and play some of the games in there. But remember, the Moody Center at UT is the home for the Longhorns basketball team. And they also play at the same time. So, I've been speaking to a lot of different people, for sort of a longer story that I'm hoping to have done by the end of this week here up on Kems5.com. A really deep dive on why the Spurs are doing this, why the Spurs are, really trying to tap into that Austin market. And the overwhelming feeling that I'm getting from those conversations and just, the tea leaves and the way things are, I'm personally not very fearful that the Spurs would be, up and leaving, up 35. It's I understand the fear from fans. I get it. But if I had to pick just one reason why Austin seems an unlikely destination for the Spurs as like a new home, it ties into the scheduling of those last 2 games and the reasons for it, right?
Right.
Because the Moody Center would not be a feasible home arena for them, given the scheduling of not just UT Longhorn men's and women's home games, but I mean this is a facility that is Austin's new premier concert venue. I'm going to see Panic at the Disco there. I'm real excited. It's going to be a pretty packed schedule for that building, and it's brand spanking new, right? So the idea that the Spurs, because the Spurs would need their own arena, and the idea that Austin would be shelling out money for a new arena like that when they just got the brand new Moody Center, it just doesn't really add up for me. But I do think that there's a lot of value and a lot of untapped potential for the Spurs to be strengthening connections with that city that's really not too far away.
Yeah.
And
And Tom, I get both sides. I hear your side. You're just saying, like the Moody Center, strengthening the ties and everything. But you on the flip, you get the territorial Spurs fans and their arguments. I mean, the multiple corporations that are buying into it. You got Michael Dell, part owner. You have the Airbnb head guy, part owner. You have the Self Financial based in Austin. You have Indeed based in Austin. Oh, let's not forget the Spurs are partner with Tribe Gaming, a mobile gaming company out in Austin. And then there's what happened between San Antonio and Austin with Major League Soccer. There's that debacle still. So
Right.
you can understand and appreciate the Spurs that are fearful of that happening,
Of
because
course.
in their eyes, their tea leaves read all that I just listed.
Of course I understand it, but I mean, you mentioned the MLS thing. The main difference there for me is that was a brand new team, you know? And like we've seen with, other relocation things, it's very different to just, pick a city and put a new team there than it is to take a city to take a team that is not just embedded in the city, not just that they've built the fan base there, but that it's synonymous with the city.
Right.
Like if you did word association with people and you said, all right, San Antonio, what's the first thing that comes to your mind? The top three answers you're going to get are Alamo, Riverwalk, Spurs. You know, uh, it's the only major pro sports team, only show in town. Um, and I think that, uh, you know, business wise, because everything's a business, right? And sports is no different. And the Spurs have a lot of smart business people doing that part of things. And I think that they understand that it would be not the best business move to relocate the team out of the place where there is that much history and connection with the community. Um, and I think that that's another overriding reason why the
Mm.
Spurs are likely to stay in San Antonio or the surrounding area for some time because, you know, I know that and fans are right to be skeptical of the business people. Fans are right to be suspicious, right? Uh, but if you say, okay, the the family ties thing, whatever, cool. We know that's not why you're going to make the decision. If you look at the money side of things, um, I think it's pretty clear that the ties here in San Antonio are incredibly strong with the community, with the fan base. Um,
Right.
and so if you're looking for financial reasons, I think there are a lot more financial reasons to stay than to go. But again, I talked to a lot of people who are smarter than me about this. Couple of professors, some from San Antonio, some from Austin. Talked to some folks who are uh, experts on transportation and city growth and the booming area, not just in Austin and San Antonio, but in the area in between, right? And the population growth, the I-35 problem, right? Um, is what a lot of the transportation folks have told me about. And you know, I'm from the East Coast. You've been out in New York. Like, I'm a train guy. We're not getting the train anytime soon. I don't think. Uh, Although I just saw the that Elon Musk guy started talking about Hyperloop between Austin and San Antonio. I'm sure the three people who are like, the Charlie meme from Always Sunny connecting the dots. They're gonna be like, you see, you
Yeah,
see.
you see, it's a connection and everything. Yeah, but
But
no, but it's a
yeah,
fascinating topic. And again, I know you have that article coming out soon. We're running up against the clock right now, Tom. But you got when is that going to drop? Soon. Right? I'm assuming in the
yeah,
weekend. Yeah.
I'm working to have that done by the end of the week here.
Okay.
And another thing I've got working on is because some folks still seem to be a little bit confused about what exactly the Spurs are doing, and so I'm working on maybe it'll be like an FAQ format for the new era of Spurs basketball, to kind of explain the rationale for it and what to expect, not just this coming season but in the years ahead. So it's definitely been an interesting off season, even though it hasn't been the most explosive or
well, you probably just jinxed it right now. Some massive trade is about to happen now. So way to go, Tom.
I'm not holding my breath.
He is Tom Petrini. Follow him on Twitter at @RealTomPetrini. And just keep on looking out for all things Spurs over there at kenspy.com/Spurs. I mentioned a couple articles that are coming out soon from him. We're keeping you as best we can updated, all things silver and black in this offseason. From Wieskamp having a sale on his Iowa clothes to the trio of rookies visiting some kids out in San Antonio at Morgan's playground. There are so many things to catch up with the San Antonio Spurs before the ball goes up in the air. We thank you for making Locked On Spurs your first listen each and every day. For your second listen, get up to date on all things news and rumors in the NBA in just 30 minutes every day with Locked On NBA. Locked On NBA is your daily NBA update in just 30 minutes. And check out Locked On Fantasy Basketball. I recently joined the host out there to talk about the Spurs season preview. I always love that, these early season previews, but nevertheless, it's there. But for Tom Petrini, I am Jeff Garcia. We're going to put a lock on this episode of Locked On Spurs.